This is Pastor Curry, pastor of the Zion Fair Baptist Church, Wilmington's most exciting church, the church that love ya and anything you can do about it. Today with Coffee with Curry, we have something special today. I've invited my personal primary care physician to come in and talk about, I've had a traumatic experience in my life with one of my very, very dear, close friend and fraternity brother. Just died at all of a sudden. It was no warning, just transitioned. And when I got back in town, I immediately called my primary care physician and said, listen, we need to speak about the importance of having a primary care physician for every person, that we may track the trajectory of their health. And he immediately agreed that he would come on the show and will help me to spread that message. Why don't you call somebody? It's going to be a great show. Call somebody, tell them Coffee with Curry is on, and let's get after it. And we're back. Today, I'm just so grateful to have Dr. Dave Estock with me today, and it's such a joy. But before we get started with some of the things I want to talk to you about today, I just want to know, how's Lois doing and the boys?
Things are going well. Lois is good because her 3 sons are good, so that's important.
Yeah.
My oldest son is consultant, computers, lives at home 4 days a week, travels 3 days a week.
Okay.
With the pandemic, unfortunately, not traveling a whole lot, but still traveling. My middle son's married, living out in San Mateo, California.
Okay.
And we have a little granddaughter, our first grandchild.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we're excited. She's 10 months old now.
Okay.
And my youngest son lives down in Bear, Delaware, and he's doing extremely well.
Well, this is awesome. And you know, wow, you got grandchildren now, David.
I know. I'm so excited.
I think I met you 17 years ago almost, and I think your boys were getting ready to go to school.
They were.
But it's just awesome to see that you have you got a grandbaby now. And I'm told, I don't have any grandchildren, but I'm told that having a grandbaby is even better than having children.
So far, I have to agree with you.
Okay,
yeah.
good.
And we have a little girl. We've had no girls in the family, so this is great.
Yeah, so now your wife have company.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's great. Dave, I asked you to come on in for the viewing audience who's here today, because when I called you, I was a little stressed. I was a little hurt. One of my close friends, a fraternity brother of mine, had died instantly or suddenly. And I was away at a conference, and I'd heard the news, immediately got on the phone because I was very close to the individual. And when I was speaking with his wife, I said, what happened? You know, what's going on? And she said, well, he died in his sleep of a heart attack. And they found out that he had sleep apnea. And I asked her, I said, well, who was his doctor? Why didn't the doctor acknowledge it? Did he have a CPAP, or what was going on? And she said to me, you know, Chris, he just didn't like doctors. He didn't want to go to doctors. He was afraid, I guess, of the unknown. So I immediately said, this is a problem within the African American community, especially among men, black men. So I said, let me call Dave, because honestly, you know, Dave, every year I'm getting a physical. What you tell me to do, I follow it like I follow the Bible, because I believe in your trade. And so I called you immediately and said, you know, we need to have a show just so that we can try to convince every person that they need a primary care physician, a person who can monitor them, who can advise them and direct them. Do you agree with that, and what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree completely. When you look at healthcare in general, a couple things. Simplistically, most people are afraid of the unknown. They're afraid they could ever have something wrong with them. And particularly for men, and I would say particularly for black men, it's almost don't look and you won't find anything bad. It's still there. It's better to know about it with something like that. And it's complicated. To know what to do medically, and when you need help, where to go for help, if you need tests, how do you get the test done? It's a big undertaking to do something like that. So to have a primary care doctor who knows the lay of the land, he knows the system, he knows you, I think that's invaluable for somebody.
Yeah. Yeah, as I share with you off camera, I don't mind being transparent with the people who view me, who watch. I have always considered myself to be a healthy person, because I wrestled in college. I played football in high school. I never had any injuries, and so I was pretty healthy.
Yeah.
But something happened when I became a pastor that said you need to have daily, annually checkups and things of that nature. Our mutual friend, I call him Deacon Kevin Locke, but Robert Locke introduced me to his physician, which was you. Yeah. And I said, well, I'll see whether or not I'll use him or not. But it was when you came to E. Zion Fair and you did something on prostate cancer for men. It just so impressed me with how you were able to lay the land and how you were able to share that I immediately set up an opportunity for me to come in and get examined. And since then, about 17 years now, you have been that person. But what really shocked me out of all of my years is when I found, my wife said to me, baby, you're snoring, you need to get checked because something could be wrong. And you immediately, said, let's get a sleep study done. Let's do this, let's do that. And I followed your instructions. I got it done and found out that I had a severe case of sleep apnea. And to the point where I think one of the monitors was saying, how are you able to survive waking up in the next day with all of these interruptions all night long? Right. Now I have more energy than ever. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I have more energy than I've ever had. Do you feel that a lot of that is because it got caught quick enough and I'm following the instructions? Your thoughts?
Absolutely. When you look at sleep apnea, it seems like a nothing in the sense that, so I snore a little bit, big deal. Mm-hmm. But when you look at it, if you snore and maybe you stop breathing a little bit, to have it checked can be something that saves your life. You might be a little tired during the day, but sleep apnea, basically, when you snore, you stop breathing a little bit, and they analyze it. Your oxygen in your body, if you put a little pulse ox on, should be between 90 and 100. Mm-hmm. When they do that sleep study, and if you do stop breathing, they'll find like, wow, his oxygen has dropped down to 70, which is dangerous. Mm-hmm. If you do that 20, 50, 100, some people 200-300 times a night, that lack of oxygen damages your brain. Mm. And over time, it's not today, it's not tomorrow, it's 5 years, 10 years, all of a sudden you got a memory problem or dementia. And when you have that happen, you don't think about it, but sleep apnea, you're more likely to have heart disease, die in the middle of the night because you have an arrhythmia or a heart attack. You're more likely to be obese, you're more likely to have diabetes, you're more likely to have hypertension. So if you ignore it, like, I'm fine, there's nothing wrong with me, you're probably fine for the moment, but it won't last. Something bad will happen. Mm-hmm. So you got to address it. You got to take care of it like you did.
And for the persons who say, well, I'm just not going to go to a doctor, I don't want to know, they're doing themselves a grave disadvantage. Wouldn't you agree? Yeah,
when you look at that, I don't want to know if there's something bad there. It's still there. Yeah. I'd rather know about it and then make an intelligent decision for what am I going to do about it. Ignoring it does not make it go away.
Absolutely. Yeah. Matter of fact, he was 50 years old when he transitioned, and he was considered to be healthy. He didn't have any issues. As a matter of fact, he was very active, but did not address because he was afraid of what could be discovered. Don't you think we live longer when we discover it early?
Absolutely. To that point, I've been in practice for 37 years now. The people that I've seen where we have caught something earlier, say somebody with heart disease in their early 50s, and they go, oh gosh, I have heart disease. Well, you know what? You had it anyway, but now you know about it. And I've known these people for decades now. I had a gentleman in the other day, heart attack at age 52. He's now 75, in great shape. He had a problem, he addressed it, he took care of it. And he's done very, very well.
Wow. Yeah. So that's a great testimony, what you just shared. He was 52, he had the heart attack, but he decided he was going to do some alterations to his life, follow the instructions of his doctor, and he's now, 20 years later,
and in great shape, retired, enjoying life, where when it first happened, it was, oh, poor so-and-so, he's got a bad heart, he's probably not going to live much longer. Guess what? Start to exercise, improve your diet. Yes, you do have to take a baby aspirin. Yes, you do have to take medicine for your blood pressure and your cholesterol. But now, 23 years later, he's got a beautiful wife, a beautiful family, grandchildren, he travels, he loves life. That could have all ended 20-some years ago.
Yeah, the quality of our lives are is just as important as having life, period.
Absolutely.
Because to have life and not have quality of life, are you really living?
No,
Yeah. You know, you said something a few minutes ago that I wanted to circle back to when you talk about sleep apnea. But not only with any of these conditions, but not catching it can cause dementia.
Yes, because it's kind of like if you boxed or played football and you take a blow to your head repeatedly. When you have low oxygen, it does micro damages to your brain. So again, if that happens 50 to 100 times a night, you wake up and go, I'm fine. But over 5, 10, 20 years, you're not going to be fine. Your cognitive skills and ability will not be there. You'll start to have memory issues, then eventually dementia with something like that.
So a lot of people are walking around not knowing what caused them to be in the condition, the state that they're in today, but a lot of it has to do with decisions they made yesterday.
Right, just like this, I'm afraid, I don't want to know if I have sleep apnea. Well, guess what? You have sleep apnea, take care of it now, you're 50. When you're 70, your mind still works very well. If you don't take care of it, you get to be about 60 and they're going, what's wrong with him? Not as smart as he used to be, doesn't remember things. Ask me things over and over again. By the time they're 70, they're not really having any quality of life.
Yeah, and you know, Dave, as I think about when we have our physical, when I have my physical, you ask so many questions and things that I don't even think about, like I didn't have any clue that if my mother or father had something, I'm receptive. I could probably have it as well. It could be genetic. Talk to me a little bit about why you ask so many questions about my history.
Yeah. When you look at history, it's one of the main parts of a medical exam. Not only listening to the hearts, examining, but the history tells you a lot, because if you look at how a person lives, as far as what's your diet like, how well do you sleep, do you exercise, lots of different things have a profound impact on your health and your family history. Hey doc, my dad dropped dead at age 50 of a heart attack. His dad dropped dead at age 45 of a heart attack. That's a little concerning. You're now 35. Maybe now you ought to start doing something rather than waiting until you're 45 or 50. What's your blood pressure? Do you exercise? What's your cholesterol? What's your weight? Lots of things you can do to change. Or, hey, my dad had prostate cancer at age 80. I'm not terribly worried about you. He was an older man and that happens. Hey, my dad had prostate cancer when he was 45 and I'm 40. I'm a little more worried about you. Maybe we ought to be a little more diligent for you for prostate cancer now. The guy whose father was 80, you follow the usual routine. We don't have to get too aggressive. So knowing something about somebody makes a huge difference, because everybody's an individual. How do you evaluate them? How do you treat them? How do you take care of them? Depends tremendously on that individual. And even like getting a physical, it takes a lot of courage. You're coming in, you're getting undressed, and somebody's examining you. They're listening to your heart, they're making decisions. If you're a man 50 and above, they're checking your prostate. It's pretty scary. So you got to go in there and say, I like this person, I trust this person, and you have to build a relationship. Yeah,
it's funny that you say that. I had to laugh, and we're going to go to a commercial break in a second. But I remember when I had my first prostate examination, I called my father. I said, Dad, I think I was just molested. Not that I was, but it was just that I have never, it was just so uncomfortable.
You're very vulnerable.
Absolutely, but you hit it on the nose when you trust someone. And you understand that it's a part of the routine of what you need to do is very important. Today's show, we're going to talk about several different things, but the overarching reality is it's important that we all have primary care physicians. And even if by some chance, let's say people who may not have insurance, sometimes it's probably best to go, how do they get, and you may not be able to answer this, but how do they get the opportunity to make sure that they got somebody who's helping to monitor their lives as well?
I don't know all the ins and outs, but with the Medicare, Medicaid system, I know that helps. And the other thing is to call one of the local hospitals, Christianacare, St. Francis, and basically they can usually direct you in that they have offices on their premises or satellite clinics, and they take all insurances. They take Medicare, they take Medicaid. I don't think there's anybody who would not get good care if they said, hey, I'd like to have some care. But you got to have that proactivity where you go out and look for it.
Yeah, we're going to take a quick break and we're going to come back. And when we come back, I just want to start talking about a little bit more in this whole notion of some of the effects that happens when we're not checked. We'll be right back.
A few years ago, I noticed I was feeling increasingly tired. My fatigue was so intense that I got to the point sometimes when I got home from work, I couldn't even remember the drive. The excessive tiredness and forgetfulness, not to mention my snoring that constantly woke up my husband, prompted me to get a sleep test. The results showed that I have sleep apnea. Sleep apnea is a common disorder. In fact, 50 to 60% of those who snore have it. Many couples accept snoring as an inevitable part of nightly life, but sleep apnea is associated with serious health problems, such as the risk of high blood pressure, heart attack, stroke, and even heart failure. Treatments for sleep apnea range from simple lifestyle changes to breathing machines to surgery. Treating my sleep apnea has changed my life. Armed with information, you too could be on your way to a restful night's sleep and a healthier life.
5 years ago, after 3 heart attacks and bypass surgery, Bill Tenike was on a watch list for a heart transplant. Then his cardiologist sent him to a breathing specialist who checked on how well he was sleeping.
During a measurement of 1 hour during the night, it showed that I had stopped breathing 33 times, the longest of which was a minute.
He was diagnosed with sleep apnea, a condition in which the airway closes and a person stops breathing while asleep.
When the airway closes, the blood oxygen level drops. So it's really no different than me coming in and putting my hands over your neck.
According to a new survey by the National Sleep Foundation, 1 in 4 Americans is at risk of sleep apnea. The major symptom is loud snoring. If left untreated, it can increase the risk of heart attack and stroke. Although sleep apnea is the most dangerous sleeping disorder, insomnia, often caused by stress, is the #1 reason people don't get enough sleep, and it can affect daily activities.
We are driving drowsy 60% of the time, and 4% of our respondents said that they'd had an accident or a near accident while driving the car.
The foundation encourages everyone who constantly wakes up tired to talk to their doctor. As for Tenike, he treats his sleep apnea with a special machine, and he no longer needs a transplant.
Obstructive sleep apnea may sound like snoring, but it can also sound like a car crash. Those suffering from sleep apnea are 7 times more likely to be involved in or cause a fatal car accident, 20 times more likely to suffer from high blood pressure, 8 times more likely to suffer a stroke, and 10 times more likely to suffer a heart attack in their sleep. While it may only sound like snoring, sleep apnea is a serious and even life-threatening condition. But it can be successfully treated. Consult with an oral and facial surgeon as part of a sleep medicine team to find out if your snoring is more than just snoring. Oral and facial surgeons are the experts in face, mouth, and jaw surgery. Learn more about obstructive sleep apnea at myoms.org.
And we're back. Today we're talking with Dr. David Estock, who has certainly been a saving grace in my life. God sends us the professionals to take care of us in the various areas of our lives. And I'm not one of those individuals who are so heavenly minded that I'm no earthly good. I know that I'm the doctor who handles the pulpit. He's the doctor who handles the health. So I yield to him when it comes down to my health, when it comes down to giving me advice for my family and things of that nature. And today's show is about making sure you get yourself a primary physician, a doctor who can help you to stay on track so that you can live a quality life as opposed to just living. One of the things that got me, because I am very prone to high blood pressure because my mom was hypertension, my dad, and pastoring a church of our size, but I've been pretty lucky to do what I need to do. But you shared with me one time that I was right on the border, and you said, Chris, you're going to have to watch what you eat, your stress, several things. But what got me was your analogy. you said something about the pipes, and if you put pressure in a certain pipe. Could you give me that analogy again?
I could. The hard part with high blood pressure, you like what we call blood pressure, 140 pounds of pressure or millimeters of mercury pressure or less for a top number. That's when the heart pumps, that's your highest pressure. Your heart's resting at the very end, you have a lower number. We like that to be 90 or less. So that's your blood pressure, 140 or less, over 90 or less. And somebody might come in for a first visit, they're a little nervous, they're 160 over 100. I go, you've got some high blood pressure. It might just be first day here, you don't know me, you're a little bit nervous, a little bit of adrenaline. And they go, well, doc, I feel great, I have no problems. I go, I know. So I'm going to have you check it over the next month, you're going to come back in and see me. They come back in, it's almost always 160 over 100. And they go, I feel good, you're going to put me on a medicine. So, well, you tried lifestyle, it didn't get it where we want it. They go, well, doc, I don't want to take a medicine the rest of my life. I'm 50 years old. It might hurt me. And then I look at it and go, all right, here's the deal. I'm a plumber. I come to your house. I plumb your house. I do a great job. I put in new pipes. I go 140 PSI or less, and you got a 25-year guarantee on those pipes. And you go, I'd like to run 160 PSI most of the time. You can't do that. You're going to end up problems. Maybe not today, but next month, next year, 5 years. And it's the same thing with our bodies. If you run 160 rather than 140, our pipes are our arteries. You're 50 years old. You're saying, I feel good, I won't take that medicine. You're 55, you break a pipe in the brain, you have a stroke. Break a pipe in your eye, you lose some vision. Particularly common in the African American community. Guys like, I'm really healthy, and you go, no, your kidneys aren't working well. I got blood tests to prove it. How come? That high pressure's damaged the kidneys. My heart's big and floppy. I used to be an athlete. I can barely walk up the stairs. Sorry, high blood pressure destroyed your heart. So when you were asymptomatic, you still had a problem.
Right.
But over time, it went on there. But it's just like a plumbing system. The pipes will break, even though you feel good, unless you get the pressure right where it should be.
You know, and I hope for those of you who are watching us will clearly understand that analogy. You may feel good today, but having your blood pressure checked and you see that it is out of sync, out of whack, not within the scope of what your arteries are supposed to handle, it will wear on you. And that's what got me. Because I did not have a child at the time. I wanted to have a child, and I wanted to live. I wanted to be a pastor who was healthy, who could preach it, and I preach pretty hard, who could preach hard and not worry about a stroke coming on because of me being high blood pressure as well as preaching hard. And I took serious to what you shared with me, and I swam. Now for the last year, I'm guilty of not doing a lot of things I should have done, but I watched some of the food, my intake of what I was bringing in, how much sodium I was eating, because I don't want, again, to live a long life, but the long life that is not quality.
Right. And I think the other important thing is there is a big fear of medicines, and you should always be looking and saying, what is the benefit of the medicine?
Okay.
What is the risk? What is the benefit of not taking the medicine? And what is the risk? And when you look at a lot of these things, people say, I hear high blood pressure medicine will take your energy away. I hear it will interfere with your sexual desire, your sexual performance. And the reality is that high blood pressure, you don't take your blood pressure medicine, erectile dysfunction, sexual dysfunction, because it's all due to blood flow. Once the pipes are damaged, you don't work well sexually. You're impotent. Take your blood pressure medicine, and I'll tell you the newer ones, I really don't see the downsides at all. You tend to stay healthier, function better, much, much longer. But there's that fear out there that medicines are bad. They're not bad. They may have side effects, but you got to make a logical decision and get over a lot of these fears and examine it. Study yourself, look into things. But a lot of the fear is baseless. It's just myths.
Yeah. And one of the things, when you were talking about that, I was thinking about one of the ministers that we had here. He's no longer here with us. But I said to him, I said, listen, son, you will need to get your blood pressure under control. And he said, yeah, I'm trying, doc. I'm trying, doc. I said, well, if you get prescribed medicine, it's going to mess with your sexual drive. And he said, the what? I said, yeah, the medicine, because at that time we didn't have the modern medicine that we have today. But that was my way of scaring him, making sure he understood either or you're going to have to do it. You added something to it. But when I said that to him, he lost 30 pounds within that year.
Yeah.
He decided I'm going healthy because he didn't want nothing to mess with that area, and he didn't want the medicine. But for those who have high blood pressure or who can't regulate their blood pressure, you're saying now that the type of medicine they have can help them, and it probably won't affect to the same level.
Well, it won't affect at any level, except it will make them more capable.
Oh.
Because once you damage your vascular system, your ability to perform sexually is diminished or gone.
Okay.
Keep your blood pressure healthy. Take something like losartan. Gosh, you'll never have a problem with something like that.
Oh, good. Well, he was glad he lost the weight.
Yeah. Better do what you can lifestyle.
Right.
If that doesn't work,
right,
think about a medication, but never start with a medicine if you can change it lifestyle-wise.
Wow, excellent, excellent. So again, you are of the opinion, given that you are, and you are, let me just say this to those of you who are watching, I did not bring Dr. Estock on because he needs patience. As a matter of fact, he done retired and came back and semi-retired now, and he doesn't need any new patients, but he has a love for community. He came to Zion Fair about 17 years ago. He did a workshop for the men, and we all were making sure that we had our prostate checked. And I think that's important that everyone knows that this is not a show today so that you could feel, well, he's trying to promote a doctor. No, I'm trying to let people live quality, healthy lives. What happened to my friend? It hurt me. We went to school together. It hurt me. His wife and I and he were very, very close. I do not want to see another person living a life that has no quality at all or dead, because that's the route when you don't have yourself checked annually.
And perfect example, I was just on the phone this morning with the wife of a friend. He's now my age, he's 70. When he was 58, athletic guy, great shape, worked out all the time, high blood pressure. I said, you're going to have to start a medicine because you're good weight, you exercise, or you're going to have a problem. I feel great, I exercise every day, my weight's good, I will not take a medicine ever. 2 years later, age 60, a massive stroke, lost the use of the left side of his body, damaged his speech, and he was devastated. And to this day, he still has trouble, left side of his body, trouble with speech. But about 2 years after that, he did take a blood pressure medicine, a cholesterol medicine, and a baby aspirin. And we've known each other for years. And over the years, he goes, I still don't know why I was so afraid to start a medicine. He goes, this is horrible, and I can't change it. I don't want it to happen again. I'm on my medicines, but if only I could have done that before the damage. And I look at that and go, man, that is sad. Just like your friend there, you go, wow, that's a terrible thing. It really brings how fragile life can be if you really don't try your best to put out all the odds in your favor.
You know, I changed even to a Mrs. Dash seasoning. I have people here, some of my faithful good members. One person that's coming to mind, I'm going to say her name, and people are going to get me for it, but Help. We call her, her name is Sister Help, but she's Jane Williams. The best cook in the country. Can't nobody outcook her. She has the best recipes, but everything she cooks is dirty. And I use that not as in physical clean, but I mean, it's loaded with fat, but it's so good. It's so good. So I said to her a while back, I said, listen, Help, you have diabetes. I need you around. And she's solid as a rock, but she just won't, and she does have diabetes. She has to check herself, but she just will not listen. Could you just say something to her to say, look?
Moderation. It's looking at this and saying, I love to cook a certain way, but that's really not very healthy. Well, for the rest of your life, you don't have to say, I'll never eat that again, I'll never do that again. But 80-85% of the time, be good. This is a special treat. Do it. Hey, Saturday night, I like this meal. Love it, enjoy it, savor it. Don't feel guilty. But look and change your life a little bit every day in little ways, and you're heading in the right direction. Not perfect. None of us are. But you head in the right direction.
Yeah, but in her case, every day she eats horrible. And I'm telling on her in front of all of our audience that she just doesn't eat right. But she's not by herself, because they're all of us, like you say, we do here or there. but I have not been in the gym, so I have not been doing the things I need to do. But I will be back because our last visit, I was not too happy with, especially with my weight. But I'm looking forward to trying to get back in. The show again today is about making sure that we are in tune or in touch with a physician who can watch our lives. When I get sick, I call the office, Dave's office, or Dr. Estock's office, and I'll say, listen, I'm not feeling good today. And they'll ask certain questions, and Dr. Estock will get back to me and say, listen, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to check this, go get this over the counter, see how it works. And he'll call back the day or two later to see how we're doing. That's what's needed in our lives in order to be successful. I remember one time, it was about 6 years ago, I was having some serious chest pains. And immediately you said, Chris, is anybody there to take you to the hospital? Go check in and let's see. Let them do a what do you call it?
EKG.
EKG. Yeah. And I did, and it was a little gas. But the point is, I had a physician available that I could call his office. He then called me right back. We went to the doctor. Everything was well. I didn't have to worry about a chance.
Right, and you didn't have to have, like, unfortunately, your friend, a wife find you go, wow, he died.
Yeah. That's devastating. And sometimes I think, Dr. Estock, that people are not sensitive to the people who love them. Can I just turn there for just a second?
Sure.
It's important that we recognize that the caregivers who have to take care of us because of our decisions, even though they love us, don't misunderstand me, they love you, but why should we put that extra stress on them when we can do some things about it today?
Absolutely. I tell everybody it's really hard to be sick and have bad disease, but it's really hard to live with somebody that's sick and has a bad disease. So I think that's really important. It's not just about you, it's about family and community. If you're sick and not healthy, it takes the time and life out of those you love most and just out of your whole community. You're not as productive. You're not able to go out there and help other people, and not unrightfully, but it'd be nice if you were 80 years old and people were helping you rather than 50 or 60 and they're going, hey, he can't do anything anymore. His health is so bad. He's had a stroke. He's had a heart attack. He's got bad diabetes, and they're all helping you. Well, that's good. But you want to be more that giving person and say, I'd like to give it out more than receive it if I can for a longer period of time.
Yeah. We're going to come back. This month has a whole lot of awareness month. We have the Men's Health Awareness, which is how we started out the show, and I'm very grateful to hear that it's important that we do have a primary care physician. But also we have headache and migraine. We're going to talk about that just for a minute. Sure. PTS Awareness Month, as well as Cataract Month. So since you're a general practitioner, I have you here. I just want to hit on all three of them. We'll be right back.
Like millions of Americans, Emma was living with high blood pressure and didn't know it. There were no early warning signs or symptoms. But Emma's heart was working overtime, putting her at risk for heart disease and stroke. Following a physical, Emma was diagnosed with high blood pressure, also called hypertension.
People of all backgrounds can develop high blood pressure. Treatments differ based on risk factors including age and family history. But hypertension can often be controlled with healthy habits and medication when necessary. Eating more fruits and vegetables, following a low-salt diet, exercising regularly, and quitting smoking are often the first lines of defense to control high blood pressure. Your doctor may prescribe one or more medications to help lower your blood pressure to normal. Some rid the body of extra sodium and water. Others reduce the heart rate or relax the blood vessels. Always take medications exactly as prescribed and don't skip doses. While medications can effectively lower blood pressure when taken correctly, each type has potential side effects for some people. You might feel tired or have trouble sleeping. You may experience a dry cough, stuffy nose, leg cramps, frequent urination, or headaches. If you have side effects that don't go away with time, don't just quit taking your medication. Talk with your doctor and pharmacist, as there may be other medications or different doses that can control your blood pressure and have fewer or no side effects. Focus on the benefits. Taking your medication regularly will lower high blood pressure and protect your brain, heart, and kidneys from life-threatening consequences like stroke or heart attack, often the first scary signs of hypertension when left untreated. Control your blood pressure and reduce your risk by knowing your goal numbers
and monitoring your blood pressure at home or at your local pharmacy in between doctor's visits.
How's Franny?
She just graduated from obedience school.
Pharmacists play a key role in working with your physician to improve blood pressure management. We can address medication concerns and challenges. So talk to us about your treatments and goals outlined by your doctor. If taking your medication feels like a chore, don't just stop taking it. We can counsel you on working through side effects or determine when you need to see your doctor about possible changes in your medications. And we'll share healthy lifestyle tips to keep you on track. Whether you monitor your blood pressure at home or in the pharmacy, we're here to discuss your numbers and provide guidance. Okay, Emma, you're all set. I'll see you back here soon.
High blood pressure has a domino effect. It can cause stroke, heart attack, or heart failure. It even causes vision loss, kidney disease, and sexual dysfunction. You heard me. It doesn't have symptoms, but the consequences are serious. You can take control with a simple test. Check your blood pressure before it checks you.
Get it, slip it, cuff it, check it. Talk to doctor now and share it.
Get it, slip it, cuff it, check it. High blood pressure silently affects millions of Americans. Staying on top of your blood pressure is as simple as these 4 easy steps. Self-monitoring is power. Visit manageyourbp.org to learn more.
And we're back. Well, what a great conversation today first. And I hope and trust that you understand that we really, really need to ensure that we have a primary care physician, a person who can monitor our health, just like with our Christian walk. You know, we want to make sure that we're in church. We want to make sure we're praying. We want to make sure we're singing the songs of Zion to help us spiritually stay spiritually fit. Well, in order to stay physically fit, because I was taught that in order to be a good Christian, you must be physically fit, mentally alert, and spiritually alive. Now, you can't be one without the other two. You have to be holistic in your walk, in your approach to your faith. So one of the things I try to do as an example is I try to be physically fit, mentally alert, and spiritually alive. I go to school. I try to go to seminars to increase my knowledge of the Word of God and my actions towards God, as well as I'm in church, making sure that my spiritual being is good. And then when I find myself with my health, I rely on the doctors to handle that. Today I have with me my personal primary care physician, who is just remarkable. I want to give just a little accolades to him. He was one of the first people to plant into Zion Fair when we were trying to build the church. One day I was into the office and he said, "Chris, I was out speaking and they gave me this check and it was a nice size check and I'm still remembering it. I never will forget what people do for us." He said, "I just wanted you to go ahead and put this towards the ministry." I'm grateful for that. He didn't have to do that, but he did. And not only that, there was other times I come in the office, he said, "Listen, I hear you're doing this. Why don't you put this towards it?" This is a person that we have with us today who has a heart for people. He has a heart for humanity, and he's keeping your pastor healthy, and I'm very grateful for that. So I encourage each one of you to please go out, make sure you have a primary care physician, and if by some chance your primary care physician is not servicing you well, find another one. Get recommendations. Make sure your health is the only thing you have. Take care of it. Treat it right so that you will be whole. This month, Dr. Estock, we have several awareness. We have headache and migraine. So what I want to do is just touch a couple of them, and you give me what is it and where it comes from. Health and migraine.
Well, headaches in general is a complicated field. Many things can cause headaches. Mm-hmm. But migraine's a particular area that really affects a fair number of people. There's not a good understanding. We think that perhaps it involves blood flow to the brain too much at times, almost like an electrical storm to the electrical components of your brain. And It can be very much genetic. You have families it runs in all the time. You have people that it's very minor. Once every year I get a migraine headache. And other people, it dominates their life.
Yeah.
They get it 2, 3, 4 times a week. It can be relatively mild, only lasts a matter of half hour or so. But there are other people that get migraine headaches. They can be wiped out for a day, 2 days,
Wow.
or 3 days. And kind of manifestations, what you find are some people do have visual changes. I get lights, I get sparkles, I get lightning bolts, I lose vision in part of my field, and then they get a headache. And the headache often is accompanied by, I'm nauseated, I threw up, I want to lie in a dark room. If it's dark, I feel better. I want it quiet, I can't stand any noise. And often sleep will help, but many times people can't sleep. The solutions are, again, you look at lifestyle. Are you doing the right things? Are you practicing stress management? Stress is a big trigger for these migraine headaches. Is my diet good? People might find if I eat lunch meat with preservatives in it, man, do I get a bad headache. There are lots of different additives to foods that can cause it. So you got to be looking at that also. And you look at, okay, I tried my diet, I tried my lifestyle, stress management, I'm still getting them, what can I do? There are simple medicines, things like aspirin with caffeine in it, and then you get more advanced medicines for the acute. There are medicines that you take when you get the headache. Imitrex is a common one. It changes the blood flow to the brain, cuts it down a little bit. They think too much blood flow dilates the arteries, causes pain. But the more they look at it, it's probably not totally accurate. But these medicines can get rid of the headache if you do it right away, maybe a half hour to an hour. And it's like, wow, I usually suffer 2 or 3 days, and I'm okay, half hour. But it's one of those things, again, I have it small, it's starting, take your medicine right away. Some people have the headaches 3, 4 times a week. So you have your immediate medicine, like Imitrex, but there are also medicines they call prophylactic. I take this medicine every day, and rather than 4 headaches a week, I have 1 a month. That's a whole lot better. And these are medicines, they're like blood pressure medicines. Do you have to take them every day? If you don't want to have a headache, you do. And most of them are very safe. And there's lots of different ones out there. So your quality of life can be a lot better, because really severe migraine headaches, it pretty well dominates your life. It really takes away the quality of your life.
And most primary care physicians could explain what you're sharing so that people will know, and whether they have to take it every day or even the once in a while, that will help them with the quality of their lives.
Right. And it can be, you got to be open, willing to talk and share and feel that communication, in that it might be as simple as you take Anacin migraine headache medicine, a simple aspirin with caffeine. You may not need anything more. Right. Gosh, it doesn't work. Take the Imitrex. Gosh, that worked great. Hey, I'm getting them all the time. I want you to do medicine every day. Really? Why? I don't want to take medicine every day. Do I have to? You've got to be willing to have conversations. And you got to see what fits best for your life. What's the benefit? What's the risk of what you're doing?
You know, it's interesting because when I never forget, before Allegra was over the counter,
right.
You put me on that because I kept saying, I have headaches. I mean, I smell something. I got a headache. And I used to love cologne. Yeah. And you get rid of the cologne because that's probably what's causing it, and it did. But you put me on the Allegra. Yeah. And you said, now that it's over the counter, just take it as and I do it daily. Yeah. My daughter was having headaches. Now, because of what you told me to do, right. I gave her a half of one every day, and she doesn't have any more headaches because all of it is our allergies that was causing us to have the headaches.
Yeah. And the perfect example for that, somebody might say, I have congestion, I'm a little bit stuffy. Gosh, I take Allegra, I'm perfect, but I don't want to take Allegra every day. Well, allergies will not kill you. Allergies are annoying. If you don't want to take Allegra, fine, you can have your allergies as long as you're okay with that. But another topic, blood pressure, I don't care if you feel good. Take your medicine every day. So you got to have that conversation.
Absolutely. Yeah. Also, this month awareness is the PTSD. I think it's
post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yeah. So let's hear it. What is that, and what's that about?
When you look at it, it was originally thought about most with soldiers coming back from war. Horrible things happen. It's hard on a human being. You're broken. Mentally, physically, spiritually, horrible things happen. It's hard to deal with those. So whether it's in combat, it's something at home where there's something horrible that happens in your family, in your community, if there's violence, if somebody is abused by another person. All these things have devastating impacts on people. And then it's how are you going to get healthy again? And there are medications, but this is more in your field holistically, in that those people probably need somebody they can trust spiritually, emotionally, to talk to them, and maybe medicine as a last resort. But to heal, you really need to have that, I have a problem, I have an emotional issue, where you can talk to yourself, get your thinking right, have other people to support you. That's a big part of the mental healing. Again, there are medicines, but I found in mental health, medicines are great, but it's usually a total picture. You need community help, family, friends, people are going to really support you.
Okay.
And this can affect you forever, your whole life.
Yeah. The last one was the Cataract Awareness Month. And I'm wearing glasses now, but let's talk a little bit about that.
Cataracts, basically, as you get older, the lenses in your eye tend to thicken. They lose their clarity. It's like a dirty window, but you get used to it. So if you go to your eye doctor and go, oh, you got bad cataracts, you should have a surgery, get them fixed, you'll see a lot better. A lot of people are skeptical in that, I don't think it's really bothering me very much. I think that I'm okay. But in reality, when you get to that point, I'm always amazed when people get their cataracts out, they put lenses in, they're like, wow, color, vision, things I see. But you didn't notice how bad it was until it was slowly over time. So cataracts is a big quality of life. It can really add to the quality of your life. It's not life-threatening. If you don't get your cataracts fixed, oh gosh, can you go blind from cataracts? Yeah, again, it's like a window. If you get it too dirty, you're not going to see. And eye doctors are so busy in general. If people think they just want to do a surgery. In medicine, people are always going, oh, he's an orthopedist, of course he's going to want to operate on my knee, etc. But for things like that, they're so busy. Something like a cataract surgery is usually like, hey, you're not ready yet, it's not right, they will say. So they usually don't want to do it until you really need it. And 98% of the time, the outcome is life-changing in a great way. The quality of life is a lot better.
Yeah, and again, we go back to the whole notion of why it is important to have a primary care physician. Because even though he may not be the person to remove your cataract, but he could be the person to refer you that it's time for you, because you're saying you have vision issues and you've checked all other things you need to go. Because you've really recommended me to some specialists that have really changed my life. You know, and it was, had you not done those things from the sleep study and the various doctors that I had to go see who were considered to be specialists, I would have never gone. I just would have been living. And for those of you who are watching, if you see people, the quality of their lives have gone down, you need to ask them, who is your doctor? Do you go to the doctor? We have to find a way to kill that stigma of in the black community, especially in the African-American male population. Not going to a doctor will cure it. That's not true. You have to be, it has to be exposed so it can be healed. And if you don't, it will take you. I know so many people as a pastor who rely on prayer alone. They don't pay attention to the scripture that says faith without works is dead. They just go on, I have faith, and I'm going to just let God do what he does. The Lord, I believe this, Dr. Estock. That's one of the reasons why I stay close to you and with my health, is I believe that we were made to live a long life. If you're good, he says 70. But if you've been better than good, then 80, 90, 100. And in the biblical days, they live even longer. God would not have put physicians here if there was no purpose for them.
And that's what I look at too in my own life. I have doctors that I go to. But let's say you had a bad hip, it was arthritic, and you could barely walk at all, and you're 50 years old or 55 or 60 or whatever, and you're a cripple. And you go, well, I'm going to pray on this. That's good. I'm sure God will help you some. But God sent somebody to school who's a really good orthopedic surgeon. He replaces your hip, and 4 months later you go, I'm going to go hike the Appalachian Trail. I'm in great shape. My hip doesn't hurt anymore. Thank God somebody was educated, somebody who is doing good in the world to help you. It's amazing when you look at what can be done in a positive way with modern medicine, from heart disease to orthopedic surgery, et cetera.
Absolutely. We are the hands, the eyes, and the mouths of God. And I'm not turning this into a spiritual session, but I believe your hands operate for God. He has ordained you to handle the physical health of us. He's ordained me to handle the spiritual health of us. And what happens, and those who are professors and teachers and things of that nature, to handle the mental part of us. But what often happens is that we want to be one-dimensional. I have faith, and that's all that matters. God can do anything but fail. Correct. But that's why God sent the other things to help us along the way. Dave, this has been a very, very good show. I'm so grateful that you took the time to share with me. I know that you have patients probably waiting for you, but you helped some person today. You helped some people today to be able to recognize the importance of getting a primary care physician, that they may track the trajectory of their health. Is there any parting words that you would like to say for today?
Only that I do believe everybody needs a primary care physician, and that fear is, will I like them, this, that, or the other? I think what you have to do is just try. Go meet somebody. Hopefully they're very well trained, and they will be, and that you have a chemistry or connection. Give them 3, 4, 5 times. They're great, wonderful. If it's, I just don't have that connection, find somebody. It's kind of like friends. Certain people you mesh with much better. And that's an important part of the relationship.
Yeah. Well, thank you so very much, Dr. Estock, for coming to be with us today. And I hope and trust that as you continue on and do the things that you will continue to experience great success with Lois and the 3 boys. The Lord has really blessed you tremendously, and we are grateful for you. And for those of us who are your patients, we are very good. When you first said that you was going to retire, I got very stressed out, went all over the place trying to figure out where am I going to go. But I'm going to hold on until you say I'm not going to retire. But I know you got another date set. But we appreciate you so much. Thank you so very much. We'll be right back.
June is Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder Awareness Month. About 7 to 8% of the U.S. population will develop PTSD after witnessing or experiencing a distressing event. People struggling with PTSD experience symptoms that can last for months or even years. Symptoms may include nightmares, flashbacks, difficulty sleeping, jitteriness and hyper-alertness, inability to trust, avoidance of people, places, and things that remind them of the event, and other life-altering challenges. Support is available if you or someone you know is struggling with PTSD. Visit the National Center for PTSD at ptsd.va.gov. For all our episodes, visit wpsu.org/health-minute. I'm Shireen Stanford, WPSU.
Experiencing or seeing something traumatic can be a really tough thing to work through. But after a while, most people settle down. If they're still having trouble after 6 months or more, post-traumatic stress disorder may be considered. All sorts of traumatic experiences can cause PTSD. For children and young people, it's usually something like a car accident, but could also be any number of other things. such as physical or sexual abuse, family violence, or the death of a loved one. While the causes are varied, it's important to remember that PTSD is not caused by media such as movies, books, or video games. Whether they have witnessed a trauma or were directly involved in it themselves, kids with PTSD will usually have increased feelings of anxiety. They might relive the trauma through nightmares or flashbacks, or even try to avoid anything that reminds them of the experience at all. Any of these symptoms can seriously get in the way of a young person trying to live his or her life. It can sometimes be hard to tell if a young person is suffering from PTSD. Some common signs are difficulty sleeping, distractibility, poor concentration, nightmares, intrusive memories, or difficulty following his or her normal routine. Addressing and managing PTSD in children and youth starts with patience and understanding. Create an open atmosphere so they feel comfortable talking about their feelings. When they do talk, be an active listener. They need to know that their feelings are being accepted and not judged. This can be hard if the adult has also lived through the same trauma, but establishing an open line of communication is essential to the young person's well-being. Young people coping with PTSD should be encouraged to resume their normal pre-trauma routines. This should be done carefully and with consideration to their emotional state. Gradually returning to normal life is an important step in processing and moving on from the trauma. Managing PTSD is an ongoing process and may take time and patience. In the months and years following the trauma, different situations may trigger trauma feelings in new and unexpected ways, and a child might not be able to recognize that what he or she is feeling is connected to the trauma. So as the adult, it's important to be prepared for these relapses.
And we're back. What a great show today. What a great show today. I'm eternally grateful to Dr. Estock, who came. He didn't come trying to get new patients because, as a matter of fact, he's not really taking any more patients. But he came out of his heart for humanity. He wanted to make sure that we all understood that it is important that we take control of our health. And how do we do that? By getting a primary care physician to help us on that journey. Not to know does not solve the issue. If you check and find out that things are happening in your life as it relates to your health early enough, normally with all the modern day medicine, we could fix it. It can be fixed. Don't wait until you're at the last stage of your life to get some help and then you asking God for a miracle. God sends us the miracle through our doctors, through our pastors, and through our teachers and the people who he has sent to help us. I hope you learned something today. I hope you will call your grandchildren. I hope you will call your grandmother, your grandfather, especially African-American men. It's time for us to get a primary care physician. My close friend is now in glory. His wife devastated. His 3 young children devastated. He was healthy as he thought, not knowing that he had sleep apnea, which caused all kinds of things. I don't want to be the physician today, but he is no longer with us. He went to bed one night. Everything was wonderful. As a matter of fact, we were supposed to meet up at the convention. And he woke up, and he did not wake up the next day. We must take control of our health. It is not funny. It is serious. I hope you enjoyed the show today. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at My E. Zion Fair Baptist Church. And do me a favor. Find yourself a primary care physician. Until the next time, God bless.